Funding for this edition of State of Affairs with Steve Adubato has been provided by NJM Insurance Group, the Turrell Fund, supporting right from the start NJ, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Wells Fargo, Hackensack Meridian Health, the Northward Center, Delta Dental of New Jersey. Everyone deserves a healthy smile. Kessler Foundation, changing the lives of people with disabilities. And by Adler Aphasia Center, offering therapeutic programming for stroke and brain injury survivors with aphasia. Promotional support provided by Commerce and Industry Association of New Jersey and by AM 970 The Answer.
I'm Steve Adubato. More importantly, this is State of Affairs, and we are coming to you from the Agnes Varus NJ TV studio in beautiful Brick City, that is Newark, New Jersey. But from Princeton, the Princeton area, we're pleased to welcome Jeff Vega, President and CEO of the Princeton Area Community Foundation. Good to see you, Jeff.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
What do you folks do?
We are in central New Jersey, we promote philanthropy. We help to connect philanthropists with causes that matter. We currently steward about $180 million in charitable funds, and we promote philanthropy. We connect, we support nonprofits that are doing great things in central Jersey.
It's interesting, the folks at the New Jersey manufacturers, we were having a conversation with them, and they talked to us, because they're one of your funders as well as ours, they talked to us about your involvement in absenteeism.
Yes.
Chronic absenteeism. First of all, define it. How bad is it? And what does that have to do with poverty?
Absolutely. Chronic absenteeism is defined as students missing 10% or more of the school year. It is directly connected to poverty. Steve, if my son misses school, I can call my teacher, his teacher, get the homework, and I make sure that Nico is taken care of. Many of our parents don't have that privilege. They're working 2 to 3 jobs. Right. If their son or daughter misses school, they can't keep up with that. And what happens is that then they miss school for various reasons related to poverty. They are going to school hungry. They are missing school due to chronic illness. So they may have asthma or childhood diabetes that they don't have the ability to know how to manage it yet, or other poverty issues like homelessness.
So let me ask you something, Jeff. Why is that everyone's responsibility, not just the parents of those children who are missing school and a whole range of problems created around that? Why is that everyone's problem?
Together, we have to take care of the issue of chronic absenteeism. The Princeton Area Community Foundation has made a $3 million investment over 5 years, and we have invested it in 10 school nonprofit partnerships in 4 communities, in Trenton, Lawrenceville, Hamilton, and Princeton. And
all very different communities.
All very different communities, yet they all have chronic absenteeism. And these are children who are missing school either because of poverty or because of issues related to school climate or because they are just disengaged in school.
Are there long-term effects of this?
Absolutely.
How so?
There's a study from the University of Chicago that shows that kids who are chronically absent in preschool perform worse at the 2nd grade.
In preschool?
In preschool, perform worse in 2nd grade. Then in the 3rd grade, when a child is going from learning to read, from reading to learn, that could not go well in terms of the future of that child catching up and being left behind. The 8th grade is another indicator where if they do poorly in math because they are missing school, that is an indicator that they're going to do poor in high school.
As we put up your website again, by the way, if you're listening on the audio side, Jeff Vega is the President and CEO, Princeton Area Community Foundation. This initiative called All Kids Thrive is?
Our initiative that we're taking our discretionary grant dollars at the Community Foundation.
What does that mean, discretionary?
We have $180 million of funds that
Where did that money come from?
from donors that come to us. They set up donor advised funds. We help to advise their charitable giving, not only in the central region, but all over the country. We are grateful that as a community foundation, we have about 16% of the assets belong to us. So we're also a grant maker.
So
in the
you have
region.
the discretion.
Absolutely.
And I interrupted the All Kids Thrive initiative using discretionary dollars.
Yes.
And why does it matter?
It matters because historically, we have always given grants to youth-serving organizations. But 5 years ago, my board said, how do we know we're making a difference? We want to be able to measure our impact.
I'm a big fan of impact over activity, but go ahead.
And that's what started us in the journey to create All Kids Thrive as the initiative that where rather than just cutting a check to nonprofits, we're sitting at the table with them, understanding what are the barriers they're confronting in the schools that they're serving and trying to help kids and families address chronic absenteeism. And so we're trying to bring the weight of philanthropy to help in that cause.
How'd you get into this?
I was raised in Irvington, New Jersey.
Really?
And a lot of the issues that we talk about, chronic absenteeism, I experienced them. Raised in a single household with a mom who trying to make ends meet, trying to make sure that me and my sisters were fed every day, trying to do the best that we can. I grew up in Irvington where not many of my fellow students had the privilege of going to college like I did.
So where did philanthropy come in for you?
Philanthropy, I was, the majority of my career, I spent in an organization called New Brunswick Tomorrow.
Great organization.
Dealing with social aspects of revitalization, trying to work to advance social causes.
Help turn that city around.
And then I was recruited by the organization to come and lead the Princeton Area Community Foundation.
One more quick follow-up here. One of the programs that you're dealing with, again, the website will be up. People can find out more about the Community Foundation. A breakfast program. What's its connection to student learning, and particularly as it relates to students who are in the ESL program?
Well, if children...
English as a second language, I'm sorry.
Sure. If children are hungry, they can't pay attention. One of our grantees, the school was reporting that the school nurse was seeing a lot of kids come into her office saying, I'm hungry. And she would have some breakfast bars in her drawer. And because of All Kids Thrive, in just 1 year of implementation, she's seen a significant decline in kids going to her. So we instituted a breakfast program at the community.
What program?
All Kids Thrive,
right,
through our grantee in Lawrenceville. And that grantee is very unique in is that it also serves a public housing residence. So kids that live in public housing in Lawrenceville who are going to school, they're going to school feeling hungry. So they created a breakfast program. And this is one of the communities that does not have access to breakfast after the bell.
Wow.
And where there is a high degree of poverty.
How are they supposed to learn?
They are hungry, and so we help to provide resources to this community to address this. So what we're hoping to do, Steve, is that help communities learn how to deal with chronic absenteeism.
Jeff, real quick, before I let you go, so there's an ESL program, and what is the bus monitor program, real quick?
The bus, one of the issues kids did not want to go to school is because there was a lot of bullying in the bus stop. So we gave a grant to have a monitor there to take care of behavior. So making sure that all kids are fed, that they're on the bus, gets on the bus without any bullying, and get to school.
And the ESL, English as a second language?
That's another one of our schools at Hedgepath Williams in Trenton, where kids were missing school to be translators for medical appointments for their parents who can't speak English. So we started an ESL program at the school. We thought we would get about 5 parents. We got 27 who wanted to learn English.
How rewarding is this?
It is very rewarding seeing kids. We talk about how kids, the way out of poverty is education, but poverty prevents many kids from getting to school.
You've been listening to Jeffrey Vega, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Princeton Area Community Foundation. Keep doing what you're doing. You're making a difference every day.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you so much.
You got it. This is State of Affairs. I'm Steve Adubato. We'll be right back.
To watch more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
Hi, Steve Adubato at the 2019 NJEA Convention. You can see, you might be able to see behind us before I introduce Steve Swetsky, the executive director of the New Jersey Education Association. Governor Murphy's in the house, as they say. Hey, Governor, how you doing?
All right, buddy.
Good to see you. How's everything?
See you, buddy.
You with the team?
I'm with the team.
Governor.
Sorry,
Everything good?
Everything's great.
NJEA, all right?
NJEA is top of the tops.
Thank Murray, you agree?
Yeah,
Oh, come on.
100%, yes.
Good
See what happens?
working with you then.
Thank you so much, Governor. Appreciate it. Well done.
Take care.
Sean, all the best. That's what happens when you're here live in Atlantic City at Convention Center. So, by the way, why don't we start with Governor Murphy? The relationship of the New Jersey Education Association with Governor Murphy is?
A breath of fresh air. He's been a partner. He just actually spoke to 1,000 of our members who were at a session with Dr. Cornell West.
So he was there for that big event.
He came up, he spoke, he talked about what he talked to our members about 3 years ago when he was here, when he was running for office. And everything he spoke about then is the partnership that we've been able to develop.
See, if I ask you about 2020, top 2 or 3, dare I call them agenda items. Let me disclose this, by the way. The New Jersey Education Association is an underwriter of the work that we do with the Caucus Educational Corporation and a supporter of our colleagues and partners at NJTV News. Top agenda items are?
Working with our members around social justice issues, economic justice issues, really starting to take a look at not just what happens in a classroom or what happens in a particular school, but what happens in communities. What are the things happening in communities that drive what happens in those schools?
Let's break this down a little bit. The theme of social and economic justice, a big theme here at the 166th New Jersey Education Association Convention. Break that down. What does that mean in terms of education, our educators and our students?
So I think typically, unions have typically focused kind of on, those collective bargaining issues, right? The wages, the working conditions.
And dare we talk about pensions, which we will in a moment. Go ahead.
We could add in pensions and health benefits.
But those are the basic
things,
issues. But
right?
where does this come in?
So if you look around, if you look at communities, if you talk about student success and what drives student success, it's not simply what happens within a particular school, right? It's the out of school factors, right? That we talk about, but nobody really focuses on. So how do we look at what's happening in those communities? How do we get our members involved with working with community members to drive those conversations around the social and economic issues, jobs, right? Medical care, all of those pieces that, students step into our classroom and they're in our schools for 7 or 8 hours a day. They're someplace else for the rest of the day. And if where they are, it isn't, meeting their needs, we need to talk about those things.
You
We
can't
need to be
say
part of
that's
that.
separate from what we do in the classroom. That's
It's
not
all
really.
connected.
It is connected.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to an issue we mentioned before. Since I mentioned pensions, and Governor Murphy happened to be just walking past us. Huge issue. Governor Murphy's made it clear, and by the way, we're going to do an in-depth interview with Governor Murphy on this and a range of other issues. We've spoken to Steve Sweeney, the Senate President, as well. Go on our website to check out that interview. To be super candid here, Senate President Sweeney has a certain view of public employees, particularly NJEA, and the governor has his view. Let's deal with pensions.
So pensions are what they are, right? They're created to provide a post-retirement,
Yes.
benefit to public employees, right? It's always been a part of their compensation, right? It's kind of that balance of earn less than you could earn in the private sector, but right there's something at the end. And our members and all public employees, they have faithfully made their contributions to the pension system out of every paycheck that they've made. And the pension
They didn't take a
issues-
vacation on that?
No, they didn't actually.
Actually, the state made a vacation.
So-
They took a vacation several
Exactly.
years through
Many
several
years, almost
administrations.
20 years.
Define what that means, Steve. When we say take a vacation, it simply means the state did not pay into the public employee pension fund, which caused what kind of shortfall are we talking about?
So it causes, when the state doesn't make its contribution, then only contributions from employees are going in. And that's a partnership, right, to fund pensions. It's a partnership between the employer and the employees. The
So where are we
employees have
now?
made their case. So New Jersey's pension plan is still underfunded. The state has started to come back and make their required contributions, and there was a phase-in process, and the state has worked its way up. I believe this year's budget, we're at 7/10 of what should be paid in. We'd like to work our way back to the 8/10, 9/10, and a full contribution, and then it will take a period of years of the state paying what they're required to pay to bring the pension back to where it should be.
But what's interesting, Steve, is that we did have the Senate president, and by the way, there's some history here. The New Jersey Education Association actually did not support the Senate president in a recent election in his district. A lot of money was spent in that race. A lot of things were said back and forth. Don't know if that has anything to do with this or not, but the reality is, in that interview we did with him, he said, you know, we did some things as it relates to the pension. The public employee unions did a lot, but we need to do more. They need to give more. You say?
I say that the state needs to continue to make their contributions, right? We need to get to a place where there's a balancing point where the employees, right, longtime employees, public servants, right, who enter public service to work for the interests of not just in schools, but in our police and fire, in our municipalities, right? That you can't just continue to cut, right? Because at the end of the day, you could cut pensions to zero, and there's still an unfunded liability caused by the states not paying for that 20-year period.
And not to mention, I want to be clear here. In your view, Steve, does that have any impact on recruiting teachers into the profession, knowing that that game is changing significantly?
Absolutely. You know, the pension system has been tiered over a number of years, so there's actually different levels of benefits for different employees, and each level has, you know, been less than the levels before them.
One more quick question outside of this. As it relates to recruiting and retaining teachers, is it harder to keep, particularly the best teachers, harder?
People come into education, they have a passion for it. They want to work with kids.
They know they're
right?
not getting rich.
And so they come into it with that belief that they're coming into something that's valued, right? And the value, how those things are kind of measured, the value of it is how they're treated, right? And Governor Murphy's a good example of that.
But I also want to say this, sorry for interrupting, Steve. We also just finished an interview with the Teacher of the Year, Kimberly. She obviously could have made more money doing other things. She's one of the best teachers you'll ever meet.
She's unbelievable, and she has a passion for the work, the passion for the students, a passion for her community. I don't know if she told you the story. She got married.
Wait, hold on. She didn't tell us that. She got married at the school?
At the school, right? So that's how much she cares about her being part of that school community. And that's really what our members do, right? All of our members that are here yesterday, what they do every day, they do it because they care. And we know that, right? They know that because when parents talk to them, right?
That's right.
I always would say to, when I worked in the field and I worked directly with members, I would always say to them, I know every one of you have a file folder someplace. And in that file folder are letters and thank you notes, right? Of all of the students that you've impacted. And people do that over careers of 15, 20, 25, 40, some people 50 years. Those are people that are making a difference, right? And you know, kind of the payback for that is the respect, right? It's being paid a fair wage. It's having a pension that was promised to you be funded by the people who said they would fund
Not to
it.
mention the impact you're having on young people who are going to be adults and contributing members to society.
Exactly.
Steve Swetsky is the executive director of the New Jersey Education Association. He took over in August of 2019.
Yep.
Okay, and we look forward to talking to you in the future about a range of education issues. Thank you,
I
Steve.
look forward to that. Thank you very much.
All the best. Stay right there. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at stateofaffairsnj.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Once again, she's back with us, Ginger Gold Schnitzer, who is Executive Director, Guarini Institute for Government and Leadership at St. Peter's University. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back.
It's great to have you. And St. Peter's University, one of our higher ed partners. You and I were talking right before we got on the air. The Guarini Institute, tell folks what it is, and then I'm going to get into this conference you had a couple months back.
Sure. So the Guarini Institute for Government and Leadership was established by Congressman Frank Guarini in 1994. And he established it to create a forum for the nonpartisan discussion of critical issues and public policy issues, and to encourage students to to go into careers in public service, and most importantly, to be a bridge between sort of the academics of the university and real-world politics.
And by the way, Congressman Frank Guarini represented Jersey City and surrounding areas for many, many years in the United States Congress. The forum you had on ending hair discrimination, which happened, we're taping in November, that happened in October. Talk about it.
So we did a program called The Politics of Hair. Can public policy end hair discrimination?
Wow.
Now, you might remember there was a story, a little...
The wrestler.
The wrestler,
Yes.
a year ago, right? A 16-year-old wrestler from South Jersey goes to his wrestling match. He has dreadlocks. The ref gives him 90 seconds to either forfeit the match or cut his hair. And they cut his dreadlocks
One of the
in a
coaches
crowded
cut
gym.
the hair, I think.
Right. Well, it wasn't the coaches. Yeah, right. One of the coaches cut the hair in a crowded gym. The kid wrestles the match.
He humiliated
wins,
that kid.
but he was miserable. And so Senator Cunningham and
Sandra Cunningham.
Sandy Cunningham, right, and Assemblywoman Angela McKnight, along with a
Right.
whole bunch of other co-sponsors, have sponsored a bill called the Crown Act that would extend the law against discrimination to protect natural and protective hairstyles. And the Dove Corporation that makes the soaps and the shampoos is actually sort of supporting a movement to get all 50 states to adopt similar laws. They co-sponsored our event with us, actually.
They did.
They provided like 13 cases of products for our students, and they sent a representative. It was pretty awesome.
This is a big deal.
It is, because, you know, Steve, do you know that African-American women are 50% more likely than any other workers to be sent home from work because of their hair?
What?
Yeah.
Sent home?
Sent home from work because of their hair.
For what?
Because they don't conform to sort of Eurocentric standards of what professional hair looks like. So these legislators came to our campus, and we had a large audience of students and faculty, and they just looked into this audience and said, who here has experienced hair discrimination? And you should have heard the stories. You know, I guess a lot of us don't think about it.
Right.
And maybe even the students there that day didn't think about it, but so many of them had compelling stories to tell. I remember a student, you know, most of our students work, and one of them raised their hand and said, my boss said to me, your hair is interesting. I'd like it to be less interesting. Could you pull that back?
That's what the boss said.
That's what the boss said. So there's a real effort now in Trenton to, you know, to make sure that people don't have to spend so much money and so much time and do things that could be harmful to their bodies to make their hair look right.
There's legislation.
There's legislation.
The governor on this? Do we know where the governor is?
So I'm not really sure. I'm mostly working with the sponsors.
All right. What is the Fox Scholars Program?
This is exciting. So you remember Jamie Foxx, don't you?
Jamie Foxx, a great friend. He was a former chief of staff to Senator Robert Torselli and a range of other positions.
Well,
at the
I know
Port
that
Authority,
he worked
other
for
places.
he worked for four governors. He worked
right?
for four governors.
Yes.
And he was such a terrific guy who really believed in mentoring.
Absolutely.
I mean, because he started his own stories. He started out as a driver, and he went on to be a commissioner of transportation for both parties,
Democrats,
right?
Republicans.
Everybody. So after he passed away, his family established the Fox Memorial Fund, and as the big program out of that fund is the Fox Scholars Program, which is right now housed at the College of New Jersey. They've graduated 10 Fox Scholars. They were looking to expand. We put in an application, and the board of directors just approved us about a week ago to be the next site of the Fox Scholars Program. Now let me tell you what it is.
Sure.
It is a very rich and robust mentoring program. Students apply. They're selected along with, you know, consultation with the faculty, and the Fox Scholars Program give them the students a stipend, some money for transportation, and assign them to a mentor who is a professional mentor, is a personal mentor. The program's for a semester, but ultimately these folks end up sort of being lifelong mentors for these students.
Are these mentors in government?
So these mentors could be in government. They could be in advocacy. I know that in the previous classes of Fox Scholars have had like lobbyists be mentors. The most important thing is that these mentors are helping to establish a network for people who may not have the network to easily achieve a career in public service or public administration.
They don't have the contacts.
Right. And so this is somebody to get to know them, to help them know what they need to do to get a kind of career, and to build the people around them, the support around them to make it happen.
It's funny, for those of us who knew Jamie Foxx for so many years, if Jamie had a title, it would just be Jamie Gets Stuff Done.
Yeah.
Jamie would always get stuff done, and you're right, he mentored a lot of other folks. Before I let you go, I'm curious about this. Last time you were here, we talked about tone and tenor, national politics.
Yes.
Worse?
It's hard to imagine. I could not. You know what?
We talked about
at the
4
time
months
I thought
ago.
it would. Yes, worse.
Worse?
Worse. The conversation hasn't improved because, you know what? We're lacking empathy in politics, and I think that we need to. I don't know how you bring civility back, Steve, but I know it begins with real conversations, not conversations meant to get ratings or to cause more division.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
It's tough.
That's why this conversation is going on, and I appreciate what you're doing. Ginger Gold Schnitzer is Executive Director of the Guarini Institute for Government and Leadership at St. Peter's University. Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you, Steve. Great to be here.
Always civil.
Yeah, thank
Always
you.
thoughtful. Be right back. Oh, no, we won't be back. Next week we'll be back. See you then. I'm Steve Adubato. Thanks.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by NJM Insurance Group, the Turl Fund, supporting right from the start NJ, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Wells Fargo, Hackensack Meridian Health, the Northward Center, Delta Dental of New Jersey, Kessler Foundation, and by Adler Aphasia Center. Promotional support provided by Commerce and Industry Association of New Jersey and by AM 970 The Answer.
NJM Insurance Company has been serving New Jersey policyholders for more than 100 years. But just who are NJM's policyholders? They're the men and women who teach our children, the public sector employees who maintain our infrastructure, the workers who craft our manufactured goods, and New Jersey's next generation of leaders, the people who make our state a great place to call home. NJM, we've got New Jersey covered.